I'm Kevin Klein, and this is Winnipeg Newsmakers. Today, we're talking to Dan and Roseanne. You may have read the story in the Winnipeg Sun about an unfortunate incident that an experience that Roseanne has had inside the Manitoba health system, and she's speaking with us right now, as with her husband Dan, from Concordia Hospital. First of all, thank you very much both for taking the time to join us and talk about this very unfortunate incident today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Well, I appreciate that. We spoke before I wrote the article about what happened to you, Dan, and what happened to Roseanne and the frustrations that you shared. So maybe, Roseanne, quickly, you have unfortunately lost a limb due to some very long delays and actions or lack of thereof of actions at the hospital. So maybe tell us why you initially went into the hospital to have your leg looked at.
Um, I got a surgical site infection after a knee replacement at Boundary Trails, and he referred me to a plastic surgeon at HSC, and they phoned me and said, "Can you come in for consultation on the 27th?" They phoned me on the 26th. And I said, "Just a consultation?" And he said, "Yes, just a consultation." And then when we got there, the doctor said, "Here's my plan." And I thought, okay, no consultation, I'm thinking in my head. And he said, "I'm going to remove the dead skin. We're going to send you over to Concordia. The doctor there is going to remove the plastic because it's infected, clean out the infection." It was wrapped in an iodine wrap, which is only supposed to be on there temporarily because he was told I was coming back to HSC that day to have it covered over. And then I would spend one night in the HSC. So we went to Concordia, did the surgery. I'm in recovery. They phoned over to HSC and they said, "You can't send her. We don't have a bed." So I laid for 4 days with an iodine wrap, which dried out my limb. And I laid there with an open wound for 17 days, watching my leg die. And by the end of that iodine wrap, the ligament was so dried out, there was 0% chance of it surviving. And that's when they told me my options were, I can have multiple surgeries, take skin from my left leg, so mangle my left leg to try and fix my right leg. We heard so many, "We want to try," or "see," or "if this works." And I was so tired of being a guinea pig. I said, "What are the options?" And they said, "Well, you'll go through all these surgeries. You will still have the infection for the rest of your life. So you'll have to take antibiotics that can't get rid of the infection 100%. And if that works, then I would live with the infection." And they would go in 6 months later because what they would do is close it over, try to get rid of the infection as much as they can. And then in 6 months, they would go back in to see if my knee could handle another knee replacement. A lot of ifs and buts. And, but I would still live with an infection for the rest of my life. Or amputate, infection is gone. And because if I still had the infection, it will complicate any future surgeries I have because I'm already going in with an infection.
Oh, I'm sorry. You laid in the hospital for 17 days with an open wound?
Yes, I did.
And in which hospital were you at during this time, during these 17 days?
Both.
You were at
Because I
both
was
hospitals.
I was here for a week waiting for a bed at HSC,
8 days.
8 days.
Hmm.
And then once I got to HSC, when I made a decision what we were doing, I had to be transferred back to Concordia to have the amputation, but I had to wait for a bed in Concordia. So I had to lay there. So I had to lay at HSC waiting for a bed at Concordia, still with my open wound, watching my leg die. I would have to get fentanyl injected just so I could have the wrapping redone every day, because they had to pack ribbon down into it to soak everything up, and they had to take that ribbon out every day. So I had to have fentanyl just so I could go through that procedure. But while I was waiting at the Concordia to go back to the HSC in those 8 days, that's when I concurred the fungal infection. So I had to have an unnecessary surgery to clean up as much of the infection as they could.
You have endured so much. I mean,
I had
it's unbelievable. I'm very sorry that you had to do that.
Two surgeries in 5 days.
Two
I have
surgeries in
now
5
had
days.
3 surgeries since the 27th of November. So what, 3 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And during this time that you had the open wound, you were in hospital. There wasn't anything that they could do at that time. It had to be done at HSC. That was the only answer, and it just
HSC was the only answer for amputation, because this is where they do them.
No, I mean Concordia. We're in
Or
Concordia.
Concordia. Yeah.
But during this 17 days, you lied, and I'll ask you, was it painful? Obviously discomfort, but were you in pain? Because you had mentioned having to take a painkiller, a very strong one.
I was on fentanyl. I was on ketamine, hydromorphone, Tylenol. I'm still on a lot of drugs, 20 to 30 pills a day.
You're an incredibly
But
strong
I'm not
person.
on the ketamine or the fentanyl anymore.
You're an incredibly strong woman to be able to sit here and talk to us today from your hospital. And again, we appreciate that. Dan, during this time, you took to social media and other forums, other platforms to try, obviously, and help Roseanne, to try and get some attention. And you had mentioned on the post and in our article at the Winnipeg Sun that you reached out to MLAs, you reached out to the health minister's office, you've reached out to several people. Did you get any response? Because I'll note that a different media outlet, the CBC, the health minister said that they had reached out, or that somebody had reached out and dealt with it. Did you have any communication with anyone from the health minister's office or from the Manitoba Health?
We had zero communication from Manitoba Health. I had one phone call from the health minister's aide. I don't know what it was, because it was around, so she went in the 27th, it was a Wednesday, around like the Thursday and Friday. We knew that the dressing wasn't meant to be on for that long, and we were already starting to get worried. So I was calling, and I did get a phone call from one of the health minister's aides just saying that everything's going to be okay. Nothing to worry about. Well, yeah, there was lots to worry about, because we talked, like, that's what it was. Everything's going to be okay. Have a great weekend. So it was the Friday of after the 27th. So yeah, there's so much heel dragging when we were begging, because we knew, like, even my mother called her MLA and wrote an email to her MLA, and who actually is the health critic, and like they were begging the health minister to step in and do something. If she got the timely transfer, we wouldn't be in this situation.
And did the health critic reach out? Did they talk to you personally to find out
Yeah,
what was going on?
several times.
Okay. And it was the person, the MLA, not a representative from the office, or?
No, it was the MLA herself.
Good. Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about that then. You obviously, I'm sure, spoke to doctors and staff at Concordia about the pain and about the discomfort and stuff. There was no. It just seems to me odd that there would be no action to put you at the top of the list. This would be an emergency to be dealt with.
It was life or death.
And it's unacceptable. Like there's so much dragging of the heels. Nobody wanted to do anything. The fact that we were here on came here on a Wednesday, or Thursday, Friday. Of course, hospitals now are just like businesses. Nobody works on the weekend, so Saturday, Sunday, nothing happened. And I think it was the Mondays when they came in and found out that she had a fungal infection.
And then when I went back to HSC and I told them my decision was to get rid of the infection for good, and the only way to do that was to amputate, that's when I had to wait to come back to Concordia.
So you made what I can't imagine to be a very, very difficult decision to
Very,
have your leg amputated.
very.
And then you had to languish on that for several more days because they had
Seven
nowhere to
days.
take you. 7 days.
7 days.
7 days you had to sit there and wait to even get like the most difficult surgery I'm sure you'll ever have in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met with her medical team, not this past Friday, but the Friday before that, and that's when the two doctors, the two surgeons that are taking care of her now, recommended the amputation
In my situation.
and her situation.
And
So
we talked to the infectious disease doctor, and he said I basically had options without options.
Has anyone reached out to you now that it's been in the news, it's been in the Winnipeg Sun and the newspaper, other media have covered what happened. They haven't gone into too much detail, but has anyone from the health minister's office or Shared Health or the
no,
hospital reached out? Nothing?
no, they all say they have, but they haven't. Like I said, you can see my social media, you can see my emails, my phone records. Nobody's ever called us.
When they put a statement out, oh, they have our full support and they've given their full support. We've heard from no one. They're lying.
So you watched the interview on CBC and it was inaccurate?
Oh yeah, it's disappointing, from elected officials to come out and say that the
A blanket statement, we can't talk about it because of, confidentiality, but blanket statement, oh, they've gotten all the support they needed. Lies.
So
All lies.
after the interview or after the news article that CBC did, we obviously we had your story online, and I can tell you, Roseanne, that you had so much support from people. Obviously, people you don't know that were sharing their prayers and thoughts with you and with Dan. It was touching to read a lot of those comments. We followed up, though. There was a story of the health minister doing a TikTok video where she was dancing. And Dan, you had put out a comment on social media about that and how disappointing that was. And there were some people, again, supporting you guys an awful lot. There was a few commenters, I don't know where they live, but they came out and saying, well, it's two totally different things. Roseanne, how did that make you feel? Because Dan, I think you alluded to at one point that you felt the TikTok video was put out the same day as the CBC interview.
the health minister was wearing the same outfit in both videos, so that's just my speculation. But yeah, it's totally unprofessional.
And no one has showed me the video, but I watched it last night for the first time, and I watched it about 4 times, and I got madder and more upset every time I watched it because I will never dance again.
I love your daughter. What do you have to offer? Nothing. Only this.
What's that supposed to be about, baby? Off your mind, stop dancing, wait. You know it.
Because I will never dance again.
A very true statement.
I think it was very inappropriate to do that on the same day.
Not mature enough to be a health minister.
No. What I saw in that video, very unprofessional, very immature.
What do you say to the people that commented saying that it has nothing to do with her job and that there's no correlation to that?
There's a time and place,
Yep.
especially when your healthcare system in this crisis and you're doing dance videos on TikTok. There's a time and place, right?
Timing.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. The health minister shouldn't be the health minister anymore. She should resign over that.
Because now when I think of her, all I see is her dancing.
Anyone from the premier's office reached out to you? I mean, this is a devastating thing that's happened to
No.
you. Nothing.
He has tweeted Wob Canoe for months.
Nobody cares.
Nobody's
what we
gotten
think.
back to you, Dan.
No, it's unfortunate that we're Manitobans. We're not being treated like Manitobans.
And vets.
It's very unacceptable. It's just not right. Like, she lost her leg, and it's life changing, right? So
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And Roseanne, you had mentioned that you were vets. Both you and Dan served in the Canadian Forces.
yeah,
So,
First of all, God bless you both for your service to our country and to all of us here in Canada. We thank you for that. Um, it's a very emotional interview for me because I can't imagine the decisions you've had to make and what you're going through. What's next for the two of you?
well, you said she's a rock star, and I guarantee you that she will probably do everything that she did before she lost her leg. It'll be just in a different way.
well, the doctor said I've exceeded their expectations, so I might be able to go home Monday.
So you'll be home in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the plan. And come the new year, we have a lawyer that we're going to talk to in the new year. We're working on a critical incident statement. We're working on a complaint to the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Manitoba. But we're not going to let it rest, right? She lost her leg, and I believe it was lost because of negligence. When that first surgeon started cutting her leg, you just see he didn't have a plan, even though he said he did. What would happen if she didn't have to come here? There was no bed, so where was she going to be? In a broom closet?
Every government that comes in says they're going to fix healthcare, and nobody ever has.
Nope.
No,
Nobody ever has.
I grew up in Manitoba, and I lived here as a kid, and I went to the emergency room as a kid. I waited 9 hours for a broken bone 40 years ago, and then we come back to Manitoba, and it's exactly the same as it was when I was 10 years old, as opposed to being 54. There's been no change. Everybody wants to blame everybody. Nobody wants to be accountable. I don't. When the Jets lost the other night, I didn't blame Rick Bowness. I blamed Scott Arniel. You don't blame the past coach. You blame the present coach. And the whole, they're blaming the conservative government. Well, I remember when the conservative government blamed the NDP government. Just own your mistakes
Fix it.
and fix it.
This shouldn't happen to anyone, and I don't want it to happen to anyone else. And that's why we won't go away. They think they just want us to go away and be quiet. No, that's not happening, because this is not going to happen to someone else if I'm still alive.
Very strong person, Roseanne. I'm motivated by you, and I truly appreciate the time you're taking to speak with us. And I can tell you, the Winnipeg Sun will continue to follow you on this path. We want to make sure that we're getting your story out there so that it doesn't leave the news cycle, as a lot of people talk about, right? We
Yep.
seem to have short attention spans now in our society,
Yeah.
and I think your story is very important. I think your story has touched a lot of people. I know it has. I've received emails from countless numbers of readers that share their own horror stories of being lost in the system. So thank you very much, and we will be there with you side by side to make sure that your message gets out. So please keep us informed.
No, we appreciate it. She's received so much outpouring from people we've never even met. She's received emails here at the hospital from people in Montreal. People are showing up to visit her. It's great. I get stopped at the grocery store and people wishing me well. We really appreciate all the support.
I'm
I
also
appreciate it.
getting contacted by people. They're asking who the surgeon was. What hospital? Because they're scared. They need knee replacement and they're scared. I need knee replacement on my left. I will not have it because I don't need to be a double amputee. I will keep my bone on bone left knee.
And you'll live through that pain
I will live through it.
because of what happened.
It's better than being a double amputee. And I
Well,
don't have any faith in this healthcare system to do that. So no, I won't be having that surgery.
and people are reaching out to you with the same fears.
They're scared. They're really scared.
When did you have your knee transplant, Roseanne?
October 9th, and I haven't been able to straighten my legs since. And well, now I'll be able to because I don't have a knee.
You've endured an awful lot, more than you should have.
She's a rock star.
Well, and
She don't quit.
she's lucky to have you by her side, Dan.
Yes, he's my rock.
You have been fighting for her, and you're both a wonderful couple. And again, we appreciate you taking the time. Please keep us informed of how it's going along, and know that the Winnipeg Sun will be here to help you on this fight, and to try to bring more awareness to everybody that's involved. So thank you
Thank,
so much.
Thank you.
thank you so
Much appreciated.